of this area. As you look forward and you see Pilgrim finally reach the very center of the field, you hear a kind of crackling and sizzling coming from behind you. You also hear a low grumble come from Wotek, and you both spin around in time to see that next to Wotek, a huge lumbering being appears to be forcing its way through the energy field. You see that Wotek has stepped back several paces in order to not confront this individual, but is standing at the ready and very aggressively trained on this newcomer. You first see a hand kind of pierce through the field, the light so bright from the interaction between its physical form and the energy that it's almost blinding, where getting a good clear view is difficult. After another moment, you hear a low, grumbling voice say,
Yield. Yield to my point.
As it does so, you see a second hand like object force its way through the light of the field, and both hands now seem to rip open a tear that allows a hulking form to force its way through the obstruction. You guys,
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I did not catch that robot voice.
it basically said, stop struggling against it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
At that, you see this creature force its way through the field and begin slowly plodding forward towards where you guys are assembled at the edge of the clearing. With each step, you see huge plumes of steam rise up from the ground as its footfalls not only seem heavy, but seem to be melting their way several inches down into the actual ground beneath its feet. As it advances, you notice that its footprints have indeed melted their way down into the ground, leaving smoldering symbols of its passing behind it. As it approaches, you also notice that the energy between the plates of its armor the energy appears to be kind of surging and pulsing, more like a furnace than lava or something physical. All right. It begins stepping forward, and you guys hear Harmony quietly say, do not be goaded by this devil. We are here for one purpose only, and that is to witness. And she actually turns her back and begins to continue watching Pilgrim in the center of the field. What would you guys like to do? This being is probably 20 yards from you, walking forward slowly.
I get up and take a defensive position, just in case.
Okay. You take a defensive position. How openly combative do you want to appear? Like, I mean, do you mean defensive position like you want to get into a full, like, fighting stance? Hands
No.
up, ready to... Okay.
My hands are down by my stomach, kind of like cross-handed over my belly to a certain extent, like
Okay.
just in a ready position. Like I
Like a
don't know how
bouncer, pretty much.
yeah, basically not like arms crossed, just like
I get you, but
hands
ready.
all over the yeah.
Okay. All right, so you take up that
Waist
kind of...
wise.
Yeah. You take up that kind of posture, and it doesn't seem to elicit any kind of reaction from the creature. It just continues walking forward. Ymir is doing what?
Ymir draws his hammer, but not in a combat sense, but draws it and places it directly on the ground, the handle, so it's facing straight up, and he sort of puts his weight on it. So it's out, he's ready, but he's not holding it ready like a weapon. He's more leaning it as a defensive posture or a guarding posture, if that makes more sense.
Kind of like a flag, holding a flag up.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right. So as you guys kind of settle into position, this individual strides forward confidently. It steps around to the right instead of continuing directly towards you. And as it does so, it takes up a position right at the edge of the clearing, but off to the side of your group by, 30 yards. So quite far away. It just continues walking around the edge of the clearing, takes up a position not quite opposite you guys, but far around what the circle would be. And go
Ymir
ahead.
follows the being with his eyes, and his eyes remain. One eye remains trained on him, and the other eye is facing forward, kind of still trying to be in the moment, like Harmony said, and watch what's going on. But he's definitely still clocking that the being. He hasn't left. His eyes haven't left him.
Okay. You continue watching him very cautiously as he takes position. He actually stands up almost at perfect attention, almost in a military kind of fashion. And as he does so, and becomes kind of rigid and stiff, his head kind of pivots forward a little bit, and very low tones come out, deep, deep tones from within the hollow recesses of his armor, and he speaks thusly as he begins to stand still and just observe. He says,
Witness Searskin present. Though I do not appreciate the attempt to keep me from my duties, you may begin.
okay, at this, you guys realize that he's actually speaking, it appears, to Pilgrim in the center of the clearing. As he says this, you guys are getting a closer look at him, and you're noticing that whatever is controlling this field around you guys that allowed you to come through unharmed, it didn't seem to allow him to come through. All along the surface of his metal form, you can see very subtle pitting and scarring that you guys can tell he's definitely mega damage in nature, definitely supernatural in nature. And that field was able to slightly melt and scar the outside of that incredibly durable mega damage metal hide. Although subtly, it still was enough, and you're impressed at both the energy of this protective field as well as the durability of whoever this individual is. You guys wonder if even things like heavy tactical missile strikes would be able to really dent this armor and rip it apart. Okay, you see that Pilgrim looks over at this individual and with a very kind of blank, disinterested look across her features, she just gives him a subtle, slight nod. As she does so, Harmony withdraws a pair of goggles from one of the pouches at her hip. An old style pair of aviator's goggles with heavy tinting applied to the lenses. And she quickly just holds them up to her eyes, doesn't put the strap around the back of her head, just simply holds them up to her eyes. And she whispers out to you two, she whispers out, shield your vision. And with that,
I
you
touch
guys...
my tattoo.
Ymir puts his big ass palm up in front of his face to shield his eyes.
Okay. You touch your tattoo, Akama?
Yeah, turn it off.
Okay, you turn it off.
I'm not trying to get flashbang.
As you do so, you see that the sky reduces down to almost complete darkness. And all around you, the light actually seems to dim even from the ambient sources. And after a couple of seconds, you guys see a small mote of light about 5 to 6 feet away from Pilgrim kind of burst and flare into life, almost like a small greenish white kind of ball of flame. It's flickering and pretty dim at first, but within just a few seconds, it erupts out into a human-sized flare. And as it does so, you see standing there, illuminating Pilgrim's form with its own light and energy, is this being. Now, as you're looking at this being, all of the features are very subtle and almost smudged. Nothing looks like a clear, definite line. Everything is subtle hints and almost illusion. And as this being turns and pivots around, taking in her surroundings, its surroundings, you notice that the strange discs of light that seem to encapsulate her upper form, these all move in perfect step and unity, almost like some kind of angelic halo. You see that each one of them is also made up of strange sigils that you're unfamiliar with. You would guess that they are some kind of divine language, but you're again unsure. As this being manifests, you notice that in one hand it has a sword of kind of flickering and sputtering green flame that it simply leaves draped across its flowing gown without seeming to cause any fire or any harm or damage to herself or her clothing. In fact, it seems as though this fiery blade could never even do harm if its wielder chose. There's something about it that seems more like it's a healing light than an instrument of war. As this being looks around, in turn, it looks at each of you as it peers over at this witness that's just showed. It almost looks for just a moment displeased or on edge. As this flickers across its features, it only lasts for a moment, and soon this being turns fully to face Pilgrim in front of it. As it does so, you see Pilgrim's kind of aura appear to be once again contained to just a few inches away from her form. but you notice that the glow that she had started to manifest is now beginning to rise in intensity very quickly. This being gazes upon Pilgrim's form and slowly nods its head and gives a very sympathetic and loving kind of motherly or matronly kind of smile of comfort to Pilgrim. Um, as it does so, the sigils around its upper body, each of the discs of light in turn seems to pulse in a very soothing and calming pattern. And after a few moments of this, you can tell that this being is definitely no threat, and it seems to just radiate a kind of serenity and peace that is filling each of you with a newfound kind of hope for the trials that you might find ahead. There's something very soothing about the energy of this creature. After a few moments of Pilgrim becoming brighter and brighter, this creature just simply seems to fade away, one small mote of light at a time, drifting up into the air around it, as it just disintegrates into millions of small firefly-like motes that each independently of each other travel a few feet up into the air before they're snuffed out and they disappear back into the darkness. As this happens, you guys notice that Harmony looks like she wants to rush forward and go over and check on her friend, but she kind of checks herself after just a small movement. And you see that Pilgrim actually has her hand up in Harmony's direction, although Pilgrim's head is down. She has her hand up kind of in a halting motion, trying to tell her friend that she's fine. You see her form shiver a few times, almost with strain, Pilgrim's, and after a few seconds, you see that she bursts forth with that same kind of greenish, halo-y kind of light pattern that the visitor did just a moment ago. And as it erupts from her, you notice the same kind of shaft of light that the other creature appeared from, that it shot down from the sky. You see that same effect seem to sputter and just loosely manifest with Pilgrim's glowing kind of, enhanced form. As you're watching, you also notice that her features begin to melt and change in a kind of energetic, liquid-like pattern. And after a moment, she looks over at your group, looking almost completely changed. The image that goes across your eyes is one that chills you guys deeply, because so far this being you've only seen in a kind of childlike, almost innocent kind of lens. You haven't seen it one time get hostile, angry, vindictive, or show any kind of malice or hatred. In fact, most interactions you've seen with its closest companion, Harmony, it seemed more like a very small child kind of tagging along with an experienced warrior. As it turns around and looks at your group, the only thing that comes to both of your minds is a very unique and or I'm sorry, not unique, a very prolific and well-known hunter that is common to both Rift's Earth and many other realities and worlds around the Megaverse. It reminds both of you of the incredible predator, the shark. This creature looks back at your group and takes a slow, steady inhale, although you don't see any apparent nostrils. As it inhales, uh, you would guess that it is smelling you, however, because as the motion passes over the creature, the red lines denoting what you would guess to be blood flow under a translucent skin, they actually seem to start where a nose would be located and very rapidly flow backward in a oily liquid-like pattern across what appears to be the brain surface. As it does this, you see the brain begin lighting up with little flashes of energy throughout its substructure. As this happens, the hue of the skin of the creature, the illumination coming from within, like some kind of ghastly jellyfish or deep sea, what are they called? A lure fish.
Fish,
These
yes.
these patterns light up in scintillating and fascinating um, uh, uh, sequences all across its surface. You also see that the clothing that it was wearing seems to just fall away, but as you force yourself to look closely, you both notice that it actually just simply melted off of the form of this creature, almost as though it was, as though the clothing was thrown on a blast furnace and just simply evaporated, essentially. As the remnants of the clothing fall away, this creature stares at you and begins to do that same kind of sniffing pattern motion, with the patterns of lights getting more and more excited and energetic the entire time. You then notice that small motes of energy and small crackles of lightning begin to attach from this creature's frame down to the ground and to the surrounding environment. It turns itself fully towards your group and takes a first ponderous step, apparently being guided by the heavenly sense that it's picking up coming from your direction. All right, what would you guys like to do? This witness creature is immoving, is immobile. It's just standing, kind of completely serene and still. And you see Harmony take in a deep breath in fear. All right, what would you guys like to do?
I clap 3 times and then take a small bow.
Okay. You clap 3 times and take a small bow. Harmony is stepping off to the side of you guys, and beginning to face fully towards the center, kind of getting, a little bit of distance and room between her and everybody else, almost looking like she's preparing for battle. She hasn't leveled any weapons in the direction of Pilgrim yet, but she's appearing to get prepared to do just that. Okay, as you clap, you don't see any noticeable reaction from Pilgrim, the Witness, or Harmony. What would you guys like to be doing?
Well, Ymir has taken notice throughout this entire thing of a few different details that he's filing away along with what's going on. The magical energy and the radiance of that, he may have not understood the language, but he did make a connection in his brain how it's very similar to the runes that move and shape themselves around Wotek when he displays emotion along with his ethereal eyes. So he noticed that during the entire ritual. Now, given this situation, Ymir is taking note of what Harmony is doing. Uh, Obviously, her motions are saying there might be a fight ahead, so he is kind of steeling himself for whatever's to come. But instead of reacting aggressively, he just bows his head once, still leaning on his hammer like he was, but he just bows his head once solemnly towards the creature.
Okay. All right. As you do so, Pilgrim leans forward, and that small maw of needle-like teeth snaps open like a little barracuda. And she thrusts her head forward in a kind of snapping, biting motion and lets out a low, savage hiss as glowing, silvery drool kind of projectile flies from her mouth in little rivulets. As she begins taking several more steps forward, you see that this silvery liquid is starting to flow very freely from her mouth, and quickly covers her chin and is running down her bare form to the ground within seconds. You notice that the skin looks almost like it's liquid light that is almost has a glassy kind of transparency to it. And everywhere that she's moving, you're noticing that her movements are almost kind of blurry and jerky. It looks like parts of her are moving much more quickly than others, and it gives a strange kind of dissymmetry to the whole of her motions to you guys. You see that the fins and tentacles surrounding the crown of her head all are seeming to flare up, kind of like birds when they're trying to, strut for mates. It's using those kind of patterns that make you guys reminded instantly of predators in the ocean, and the way that they use kind of like movements and light to kind of bedazzle their prey and transfix it. You're no longer seeing any kind of humanity behind her eyes, although it was hard to see that in the first place, admittedly. As she continues to kind of pad forward, you're noticing that she is looking directly at your group and basically ignoring that witness creature to the side. Okay, she is walking closer, and you would guess that she's probably 25 feet away from being right up next to you guys. All right, what would you guys like to be doing?
I
2 seconds.
Huh?
Oh, he needs just a minute.
Oh. As I finish doing my bow, I lift my head up to lock gazes with the creature and see that the hissing sounds and the way it looks is what gives me some type of feeling like this is not good. And then I say, "Oh shit, she's
Okay,
gone
hold on one
turbo."
second. As you lock eyes with her and get ready to say that, I need you to make a roll. I want to make sure to tell you exactly which one to use. I need you to do a roll under saving throws. Right there. I need you to do a save versus psionics. It's towards the end of the saving throws.
Oh, son of a bitch.
You guy has a +3.
fuck my life.
Okay. As you lock eyes with Pilgrim, everything around you seems to start jumping randomly, almost like you're on some kind of incredibly potent psychedelic substance. Things begin jumping and transposing themselves all over your field of vision and within your senses of hearing, tactile sensation, even tastes start going haywire in your mouth. You're picking up all kinds of incredibly strange and random odors, and everything visually starts just basically jumbling up like a jigsaw puzzle that's in real time getting mixed up in front of you. As all of these things start becoming discordant, you right away start losing track of what you're supposed to be doing and what's happening around you. You basically get lost in your world, turning into a rapidly rotating Rubik's Cube of information. You begin turning to one side and then the other, trying frantically to remember exactly what's happening around you, because at some base level you remember there's some kind of danger, but you've completely lost track of where it was coming from and what it was. Okay, we're going to come back to you.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay?
I'm fucked. Oh, go ahead.
Ymir, as you're looking at this creature advancing, what is it you'd like to do?
Ymir steels himself his gaze. Obviously, the creature didn't react to his bow at all, so he just stares at it with intensity, but he's not swinging at it or anything. He's not rage fueled or anything like that. He's just boring holes through it with his eyes. I have another question.
Hit me.
Does he recognize this being from the vision he had when he had his ascension? Is this the true
Roll
form?
a perception check, please.
Excellent. Ow. You kind of blew my eardrums out on that. We'll take it. We'll take it. Let's see. There, da, da, da. There we go. Sorry, it's being real slow right now.
Oh, no worries at all, man. Akama, you start realizing there's a terrible itch somewhere down at the soles of your feet, and you begin reaching down and trying to undo one of your boots to get at it. Let's see. Ymir, that was your... Okay.
Perception check.
All right. So you notice immediately as you start focusing on it that the being you remember from your vision is absolutely very closely tied to what you're seeing in front of you now. Not exactly the same form, but you're positive that it is the same being. And you would guess that maybe this thing has a lot of different forms. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right. When you notice this, give me one moment. Okay, when you notice this, you look into the features of this thing deeply enough to where you're sure that you've made that connection.
Okay.
But as this creature is looking around at you guys individually, you're not seeing any kind of like higher brain function or sense of awareness that makes you think that this creature is recognizing you in that way at all. Okay?
Okay. Understood.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, it's stepping in a little bit closer. It's probably about 12 feet away. Akama, as you're working on getting your boot off so you can finally get to this maddening itch, you feel yourself fall over to the side onto your shoulder because your balance is completely gone. As you look around almost kind of meekly from the perspective of the ground now, you're looking up into the air as everything is swirling around like a tornado in front of you. You're having an incredibly difficult time telling up from down, even. And the only thing that seems to help is to close your eyes and hold on for dear life as you ride out this crazy swirling storm of sensations that basically is overwhelming you.
Noticing Akama's reaction, Ymir stands directly in front of him and raises his hammer in a defensive posture. He doesn't have it cocked, but it's raised up in front of his chest in a purely like a guarding stance, while Akama tries to deal with whatever he's dealing with.
Okay,
Fine.
as you step forward in between the two, and begin holding your hammer in that posture, go ahead and roll a save versus psionics.
Versus psionics, you say?
Yeah.
Versus 15? Versus underneath possession, or is it pure psionics?
It is, uh, yeah, just psionics versus.
Okay, got you.
You've got a +2.
Damn.
You got the same thing I got.
Okay. As you step in front of your companion to protect him, your eyes lock with Pilgrim's. And as they do, you feel a kind of fracturing happening to your senses. And as you start feeling those pieces waver and kind of separate, almost like lines appearing in everything you could see, and your perceptions almost being pulled apart like puzzle pieces, there's a shaking and wavering to it. And as you feel that wave of nausea begin to flow over you, there's a weakness behind the force being used to cripple your mind. You're not sure why that would be, but the features of Pilgrim instantly turn into something less like a in the hunt feline predator or a shark smelling blood knowing that its prey is close, with that kind of satisfied kind of smirk. That is all being replaced before your eyes with a look of annoying, grinding anger, and a kind of dissatisfaction that is very quickly creeping across its features. As it begins looking at you in a more and more angry and disappointed manner, you feel that pressure increase, but the pieces continue to just simply kind of shake and vibrate against each other, and your senses don't feel like they're completely collapsing. After about 3 seconds of this, this creature lets out a loud, hateful hiss towards you. And as it does so, it begins almost like chattering in an angry, almost like a spider monkey kind of way. And as it begins chattering, you realize that it's trying to use words. It's trying to use some kind of vocalizations But as it's doing it, it doesn't seem to be getting the effect that it wants. And this is pissing it off even more. Um, as it begins getting more and more frustrated, you see uh, Harmony actually steps in front of you. And as she steps in front of you, this creature instantly turns its attention towards her, and then its eyes get incredibly wide like a child. And it instantly stops its kind of gibbering and strange kind of chirping noises of anger. And as it does, you see that the light immediately starts dimming, and its features almost instantly smooth back down into the more familiar shape of Pilgrim. Pilgrim seems to kind of collapse for a moment onto its knees, and as she does so, she quickly gathers up. She gathers herself up almost knees to chest in a kind of fetal position, as Harmony very quickly starts walking forward over to where she's fallen. Immediately, you see this witness turn and begin walking back to where he came from, over at the end of the at the structures. He hasn't made it far though. What would Ymir? What would you like to do? Your senses have just started kind of returning and going back to normal, and Akama, you feel yourself now free of whatever the grip, that madness was that had overtaken you. You're able to slowly start taking controlled breaths, and your vision, hearing, and other senses are slowly starting to kind of settle back down. You're not to the point where you can stand or even honestly focus on anything in particular, but you're able to start actually feeling control of yourself return, and you can identify, okay, there's noise coming from above me. I can feel the ground underneath me. Those kinds of things.
Do I
This
still
is
got an itch in my feet?
no, not at all. But you do realize that you're basically shivering over your entire body. You have rarely experienced a psionic attack of that power, and you're you're a little bit humbled, because you don't even know if that was like a real heavy swing or if it was just like a jab. But it's rare that you can be actually like put down like that,
Get
with one
experience or
attack.
something.
So yeah. So all right, Ymir, what would you like to be doing as you're coming back to your senses?
Ymir, coming back to his senses, slowly checks on Akama before, make sure he's coming back to his senses as well. Um, maybe dust him off, lifts it. I could be funny and say he lifts him up by the back of his shirt, but I'm not going to. But he checks on his partner and just is making sure he's returning back to his proper self, and then follows Harmony in quick step, and with one sort of labored breath, or few labored breath, he goes, "What was that?"
Okay, so as Akama is starting to kind of get sat back up and you're helping him kind of get reoriented and check on him, you say this to Harmony, and she's just remaining quiet. She has rushed over to Pilgrim and is knelt down over her. Out of her pack, she's taken out some kind of clothing and appears to be trying to kind of get Pilgrim dressed while kind of covering herself from view with her own body. And she's just quiet. As the witness, this seerskin individual, as he walks past where you guys are, he doesn't even seem to take notice. he doesn't say anything or appear to have any interest in you guys whatsoever. He simply continues walking over to where Wotek is, apparently getting ready to like leave this area. As you guys look around, you're no longer seeing that energy field in the area, and most of the kind of ambient energy and effects in the sky, most of that is completely dissipated, and you're just seeing like a clear kind of night sky with lots of stars above you. There is a little bit of cloud cover, and there's still just a little bit of very light kind of rain. But the temperature has warmed back up just a bit, and it's now just simple, regular kind of a misty rain.
Is the energy field, are they clear enough for Wotek to possibly rejoin me by my side? Can he make a beeline towards me now?
You're
Is
not
there...
you're not sure because he does not look willing to
Gotcha.
really try and go in there. He has
Fair
basically
enough.
taken up a defensive position, but he is several feet back, ready in case when this individual walks past him again, if anything should happen, he's ready to go.
Gotcha. Well, after checking on Akama, Ymir is going to follow in the steps of Harmony and check on the state of Pilgrim once she has been properly clothed and everything else.
Give me just 1 second, guys. Sorry. Okay, guys. All right, Ymir, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
What I said was, after checking that Wotek is, where he is, just what you described previously, Ymir is going to follow in Harmony's footsteps over to Pilgrim and join them once Harmony has properly taken care of her charge.
Okay. All right, cool. As you head over, after she's obviously been covered up, very quickly,
Uh,
uh, Akama, you are feeling, back in control of yourself within just a few seconds, and you're able to completely support your own weight. You've sat back up, and after just a few more seconds, you're kind of already up on one knee, starting to kind of test your balance and get yourself back where you need to be. Again, this is a pretty uncommon feeling for you. It's rare that you've taken that kind of, you would guess like psionic, just fucking haymaker. But you are back up on your feet at this point, and although you're pretty wobbly, you can start moving around or doing, whatever you'd wish. So, is there anything in particular you want to be doing, or?
I think he may be AFK
Oh, okay.
or muted. Maybe muted.
Yeah, I was muted. I mean, I'm still recovering,
Yeah, definitely.
so I'm just trying to get myself together before I can do anything. So I'm
Okay.
just still covering.
All right. You're taking the time necessary to actually get your head back on straight before you just start fucking jumping around.
Doing some more random nonsense. Sheesh.
Man, if looks could kill, she got you. She gave you that. She gave you that stank eye. So
She gave me that, ooh, I gotta use the bathroom line. Like she did it to me and I gotta go poop.
all right. So as you guys, as a couple of moments kind of tick by, Pilgrim herself is kind of sitting back up finally and starting to kind of collect herself. And you guys see that the environment has settled quite a bit. The witness seems to have just continued walking and left the area. And after a few moments, Pilgrim is once again standing with an arm around Harmony. She seems to have pretty much caught her breath. She's wearing a very simple sweatshirt and some loose fitting sweatpants. And as both are black, as she looks around at the two of you, right away she kind of bows her head in shame a little bit and just kind of puts her head on Harmony's armored shoulder, kind of burying it there, almost not to, in hopes of not having to face anybody. Harmony looks at both of you really sternly, and she says, that wasn't supposed to happen. I apologize.
Ymir concerned about Pilgrim and what she just went through, confused and upset obviously by what he was witness to and the power that he was witness to, but it also drives his curiosity even further now to what his vision showed him earlier. So he simply nods his head to Harmony and he looks at Pilgrim and says stoically, "Recover your strength now, Pilgrim. Take it slow. But I hope that you and I can talk further later. We have much to discuss."
Okay, and at this, you see her tighten her grip on Harmony, almost like and like hug her like quite a bit more forcefully as she hears you say this. And Harmony kind of pats her on the shoulder a couple of times in reassurance. But other than that, she doesn't say anything or do anything. Okay, so after a couple of more moments of people kind of regaining their senses, the witness has fully left the area and is out of sight. Wotek is still kind of standing guard over at the edge of the cobblestones, and you guys notice that a incredible number of stars are out above you, and as you take a look up into the heavens, you notice that it's just absolutely beautiful from your guys' vantage point up here on this mesa, and that for an area that seems to be permeated with so much like natural energy, it makes sense. This place has just a quality and an air of being something really special and almost like a focal point, even in a land that seems to have so many kind of powerful, magical areas and properties. This one is definitely something special. You
When
guys,
Ymir looks up into the sky, does he, I know I've asked this before, but does he recognize anything that's related to his people? Any great constellations, anything tied to his background or lore that he would know or understand? Or
um,
is the sky completely foreign to him?
the sky, you're noticing several constellations that, just through, I don't know if you have astronomy or not.
No, I'm talking more in the cultural or tribal sense, less scientific.
Oh, sure, sure. I want to make sure. I mean, if you have, yeah, astronomy and navigation.
Oh, I can.
Uh,
Can I is that something I need to roll?
yeah, go ahead and do a roll. That's your first skill.
Gotcha. Astronomy and navigation. Land navigation. I guess that's it. Land navigation.
The very first skill at the top of your list, I think it says astronomy and navigation.
It says skill, combat skills. No, it's my first one there is
Oh,
geology. I don't.
I am so sorry. I was looking at the commas, I think. Yeah, my bad. My bad.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So
So which one did you say you have?
land navigation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let's see. Any modifier?
No.
No. Okay.
Holy
Yo.
shit. Okay, so as you're watching the sky, most of the traces of those patterns and symbols that you had seen have completely faded. But as you're looking around, you realize that there are several of these like constellations that look familiar, but it strikes you that somehow in this part of the world the spatial and placement relationships between these constellations that you recognize are completely askew, and that shouldn't be possible. Wherever you look at it, they should everything should look uniform, and you notice that several of these differences seem of just the right proportion to give you a strange sense that you're in an area now that is less almost like compressed and segmented from the rest of the base reality of this world than your homeland. And it gives you a further kind of sense of how almost unique the place that you've come from is, because it in a strange way you're getting a sense that it almost is its own little pocket dimension. It is still in, the realm of the mortals that you're in right now, but you definitely get a sense of how distant it really is as well. And that duality kind of makes you smile and reflect fondly on your people and your past and your homeland, because in a very real sense, knowing your own, people's history, you guys are an entire kind of breed apart, an entire kind of bloodline apart from the rest of the mortal world. And you would also surmise that that might also mean that your homeland can be reached a little more easily than you had previously thought. A lot of tales have been told about how kind of difficult it is for invaders to ever make any, headway against your people. And it's always made you think that having like, dimensional teleportation and things like that, getting you instantly home, may be a little bit of a problem because you've always had the assumption that, the weave around your homeland is really solid. But something about this, it makes you think, yeah, there may be ways to manipulate those kind of more esoteric peculiarities of your homeland to make that work. And it gives you a sense that this may be something you want to remember and talk to your in-house Voyager about at some point, and maybe see if there's a discussion to be had there in case you ever were wanting to return. Maybe this information could be helpful. So,
Okay.
okay. Everybody is now ready to leave, it appears. Akama, what are you wanting to be doing?
Uh, I guess I dust myself off and make my way toward Pilgrim and them. I guess